You know what's funny about watching an entire civilization collapse in real time? The silence. Not the kind of silence you'd expect from a dead world, mind you. No, this was different. This was the silence of a species that had spent 3 centuries shouting at the universe through radio waves, suddenly going mute all at once. I was monitoring Earth's communication networks when it happened. Tuesday, March 15th, 2147, Earth Standard Time. One moment. The airwaves were buzzing with their usual cacophony of news broadcasts, emergency signals, and what the humans charmingly called social media chatter. The next moment? Nothing. Absolute, complete, terrifying nothing. Keth, are you seeing this? My colleague Drix, 7, floated over to my station, his bioluminescent patches flickering with concern. The entire electromagnetic spectrum just went dark around Sol 3. I adjusted my sensors, thinking perhaps we'd encountered some kind of interference. Run a full diagnostic. Maybe our equipment's malfunctioning. But deep down, I already knew better. When you have spent 2 decades studying emerging civilizations, you develop an instinct for catastrophe. And this felt like the end of everything the humans had built. The Humvee died right in the middle of our patrol through downtown Kabul. Not unusual considering the desert and the age of our equipment, but this was different. Everything electronic just stopped. Radios, GPS, night vision, even my damn digital watch. All dead, like someone had flipped a cosmic switch. What the hell? Private Torres banged his fist against the radio. This thing was working 5 minutes ago. I tried my satellite phone. Nothing. Not even static. Just that empty, hollow sound you get when there's absolutely no signal anywhere. That's when the first chill ran down my spine. In 20 years of military service, I'd never experienced a complete communications blackout. Not like this. "Sarge, look up," whispered Corporal Davis, his voice tight with something I'd never heard from him before. Feared I followed his gaze skyward. Every aircraft in the vicinity had gone silent. I could see them in the distance, dark shapes against the blue sky, falling like dead birds. No engine noise. No radio chatter. Just gravity doing its work. That's when I knew we weren't dealing with equipment failure. This was something else entirely. Something that made my combat-hardened gut twist into knots. Day 1 after what the few remaining government officials are calling the event. Though honestly, calling anything official is pretty meaningless when there's no government left to speak of. I'm writing this by candlelight in what used to be the University of Chicago's Medical Center. Now, it's Refugee Camp Alpha 7, though I suspect the Alpha 7 designation is wishful thinking. There probably isn't an Alpha 1 through Alpha 6 anymore. There probably isn't much of anything anymore. The people keep asking me what happened, as if my medical degree somehow makes me an expert on global electromagnetic phenomena. I tell them what I tell everyone. The patients bring their broken bones and radiation burns to my makeshift clinic. I don't know. Nobody knows. One moment, we were a modern civilization. The next, we were thrust back into the 19th century without warning, without preparation, without hope. The riot started on day 2. When people realized their cell phones weren't coming back. When they understood that the grocery stores weren't getting resupplied. When the reality hit that every car, every plane, every piece of technology they'd ever relied on was now nothing more than expensive scrap metal. I have seen a lot of trauma in my career. Car accidents, gun violence, natural disasters. But this is different. This is an entire species experiencing collective post-traumatic stress disorder. 7 billion people suddenly stripped of everything that made them feel connected, safe, modern. The scary part isn't the looting or the violence. It's the silence. In a city of 3 million people, you can actually hear individual conversations now. No traffic noise, no air conditioning hum, no electronic anything. Just human voices, crackling fires, and the wind through empty streets. Let me tell you something about being a smuggler when the entire damn galaxy suddenly becomes a no-fly zone. It's not exactly what you'd call a growth industry. That I was running a shipment of medical supplies to the outer colonies when Earth went dark. Real dark. Like, completely off the grid, not a single electromagnetic signature dark. My ship's AI started throwing error messages I'd never seen before. Sensor readings that made no sense. communication arrays that might as well have been decorative sculptures for all the good they were doing. Tank, we have got a problem. Call my engineer, Lisa Wong, from the engine room. The hyperspace beacon network just disappeared. All of it. Every single navigation marker between here and Seoul is gone. I knew what that meant. Without the beacon network, interstellar travel became a game of cosmic roulette. You could plot a course, sure, but without real-time position updates, you might end up anywhere. Or nowhere. Preferably not nowhere. How long before we reach Earth? I asked, though I already suspected the answer wouldn't be good news. At sublight speed? About 4 months. Maybe 5 if we encounter gravitational anomalies. 4 months to reach a planet that had apparently vanished from the galactic communication grid. For months to discover whether humanity had somehow managed to wipe itself out, or if something else had done the job for them. Either way, I had a sinking feeling that my smuggling days were about to get a lot more complicated. The humans have done something unprecedented. In all my cycles of warfare against dozens of species across the galaxy, I have never witnessed anything quite like this. They have made themselves invisible. Not literally invisible, of course. My sensors can still detect their planet, their cities, their warm bodies moving through the streets like insects fleeing a disturbed nest. But technologically, they have vanished completely. Every communication array, every power grid, every piece of advanced technology that made them a credible threat has simply ceased to function. War leader, reported my intelligence officer, Klex 9, our advanced scouts confirmed total electromagnetic silence from all major population centers. No military communications, no defensive systems, no spacecraft launches. It's as if they have reverted to a pre-industrial state overnight. This should have been cause for celebration. The humans have been a persistent thorn in our expansion plans for decades. Their stubborn refusal to submit to hegemony authority, combined with their surprising military innovations, had cost us considerable resources. But something about this sudden vulnerability made me uneasy. Humans don't simply give up. In every engagement we'd fought, they demonstrated an almost pathological refusal to accept defeat. They would fight with broken weapons, coordinate attacks, using primitive communication methods, and somehow turn desperate situations into tactical advantages. The idea that they would voluntarily disable their own technology made no strategic sense. Maintain observation distance, I ordered. Do not engage until we understand what has happened. My subordinates looked confused. Here was an opportunity to conquer Earth with minimal resistance. And I was ordering caution. But 40 years of military experience had taught me to be suspicious of gifts that seemed too good to be true, especially gifts from humans. The first human transmission we received post-event came exactly 72 hours after the blackout began. Not through their usual communication arrays, of course. Those are all dead. This came through an old-fashioned radio telescope, the kind they used for astronomical research before they developed quantum communication networks. The message was brief, broadcast on multiple frequencies simultaneously. This is Dr. Henry Patterson, Director of the National Science Foundation Emergency Response Team. If anyone is receiving this transmission, please be advised that Earth has experienced a planet-wide electromagnetic pulse event of unknown origin. All electronic systems have been permanently disabled. We are attempting to re-establish basic communication networks using pre-digital technology. Please respond if you receive this message. Drix, 7 looked at me with what I can only describe as bewilderment. They're using radio waves? In 2147, I had to admire their ingenuity. While most species would have been paralyzed by such a complete technological collapse, the humans were already adapting. Within 3 days, they'd managed to construct functional radio equipment from salvaged components. Primitive by galactic standards, but effective. Should we respond? Asked our communications officer. I considered the question carefully. The Galactic Council had strict non-interference protocols regarding developing civilizations. But Earth wasn't exactly developing anymore, was it? They'd been a spacefaring species for over a century. This wasn't natural technological regression. This was catastrophe. Open a channel, I decided. Use their primitive radio frequency. The response came faster than I'd expected. Unknown vessel. This is Dr. Patterson. Can you confirm your identity and location? Dr. Patterson, this is Science Officer Keth Morian of the Galactic Survey Service. We are currently in orbit around your planet. What exactly happened down there? There was a long pause. When Dr. Patterson's voice returned, it carried a weight I hadn't heard before. Exhaustion, grief, but also something else. Something that would soon prove to be very important. Determination. Officer Keth Morian, we honestly don't know what happened. Every piece of electronic equipment on the planet stopped functioning simultaneously at 1547 GMT on March 15th. No warning, no gradual degradation. Just nothing. We estimate that approximately 60% of our population will not survive the next 6 months without technological support systems. Do you require assistance? I asked, though I already knew the answer would complicate everything. We require a miracle, came the reply. But since those seem to be in short supply, we will take whatever help we can get. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. Not just for Earth, but for the entire galactic political landscape. I prepared to make first contact with a desperate human civilization. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were all about to learn something important about the nature of survival, adaptation, and the unbreakable human spirit. I just had no idea how right I was going to be. If someone had told me a month ago that I'd be coordinating the largest humanitarian operation in galactic history, I would have recommended immediate psychological evaluation. Yet here I am, watching cargo shuttles ferry supplies between our ship and a species that, according to every statistical model, should have devolved into complete chaos by now. They haven't. Dr. Patterson's makeshift communication network had evolved into something resembling a functioning government within 2 weeks, using nothing but salvaged radio equipment and human volunteers on bicycles. They'd managed to coordinate relief efforts across 3 continents. Bicycle messengers. In the 22nd century, the irony wasn't lost on anyone. Keth, you need to see this. Drix 7 called from the observation deck. The humans in North America have started something. I joined him at the telescope array. Below us, spread across what had once been called the Great Plains, was a sight that defied every assumption I'd held about technological regression. Thousands of humans, working in coordinated groups, were constructing something massive. Not with advanced machinery, obviously, but with hand tools, animal labor, and pure determination. What are they building? I asked. According to their radio transmissions, it's a continental communication relay system, manually operated. They are planning to connect every major population center using signal fires, mirror arrays, and mechanical telegraph systems. I stared at the construction in disbelief. They are rebuilding their entire communication infrastructure from scratch, using 19th century technology. In 3 weeks, Drix 7 added, most species would still be fighting over food supplies. Turns out, 20 years of military training comes in handy when civilization collapses. Who knew? I'm writing this from what we have started calling Forward Operating Base Phoenix, built in the ruins of Chicago's financial district. 37 active and former military personnel, plus about 200 civilians who have proven they can follow orders and handle crisis situations. We are not the biggest survivor group, but we might be the most organized. The key was realizing early that this wasn't temporary. While other groups were waiting for the government to fix everything, we started planning for a world where electronic technology wasn't coming back. Ever. Morrison, incoming message from the alien ship, called out Rebecca Santos, our chief communications officer. Yeah, that's right. We've got aliens now. Because apparently, losing all our technology wasn't weird enough. I took the hand crank radio from her. This is Sergeant Morrison, Forward Operating Base Phoenix. Sergeant Morrison, this is Science Officer Keth Morian. We have a situation that requires immediate coordination between all human leadership groups. What kind of situation? The kind that involves a Hegemony war fleet currently 3 days out from your solar system. Well, that was new information, and not the good kind. Explain Hegemony war fleet, if you would. An aggressive military alliance that's been expanding through this sector for decades. They view Earth as a strategic resource. With your defensive capabilities offline, they are moving to claim your planet. I felt that familiar pre-combat tension settling into my shoulders. How many ships? 47 capital vessels. Approximately 15,000 ground troops. Rebecca whispered something that would have gotten her disciplined under normal circumstances. But these weren't normal circumstances. What are our options? I asked. Honestly, evacuation might be your best bet. We can transport essential personnel to off-world colonies. I thought about that for exactly 3 seconds. Officer Keth Morian, with all due respect, humans don't evacuate. We improvise, adapt, and overcome. How much time do we have? The strangest thing about the end of the world is how quickly it starts feeling normal. I'm performing surgery by candlelight, treating patients with medicines I have to compound by hand, and somehow we're saving more lives than we are losing. Human adaptability is absolutely remarkable, but today brought news that changed everything. The radio crackled to life during evening rounds with an announcement from Dr. Patterson's Central Command. All settlement leaders, this is NSF Emergency Command. We have confirmed reports of an incoming hostile alien fleet. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. All communities are advised to implement Defense Protocol 7 immediately. Defense Protocol 7. I had to laugh. 6 weeks ago, we were a spacefaring civilization. Now we are planning to fight off an alien invasion using tactics that wouldn't have been out of place during the American Civil War. The scary part? I think it might actually work. You know what's harder than smuggling illegal cargo across 3-star systems? Convincing an entire alien war fleet that you are just a harmless independent trader who definitely isn't carrying intelligence data about their fleet composition and attack plans. Tank, we have got incoming transmission from the Hegemony flagship. Lisa called from the communication station. They're demanding we submit to inspection. I activated the comm system. Hegemony vessel. This is independent trader Lucky Strike. I'm carrying agricultural supplies to the outer colonies. Nothing here that would interest military folks. Prepare to be boarded, human vessel. The connection cut, and I turned to Lisa. How long until we reach Earth's radio communication range? 18 hours. And how long until they board us? 6 hours. I did the math and didn't like the answer. We need to send our intelligence package now. Tight beam transmission to Earth's emergency frequencies. Tank, if they detect that transmission, they will blow us out of space. I looked at the data we'd collected during our 3 weeks of shadowing the Hegemony fleet. True compositions, ship vulnerabilities, attack patterns, supply lines. Information that could mean the difference between survival and extinction for every human on Earth. Lisa, in my 20 years of smuggling, I have learned one thing. Sometimes the cargo is worth dying for. She nodded and began preparing the transmission array. Message ready. Send it. The human ship's transmission was intercepted and decoded within hours. Standard intelligence gathering. Not particularly sophisticated, but thorough. What concerned me wasn't the intelligence itself, but what it implied about human coordination. War leader. Reported Klex 9. Analysis of intercepted communications suggests the humans have established a planet-wide defense network, using primitive technology, but with remarkable efficiency. I studied the tactical display. Explain. They have positioned observer posts at every major geographical choke point. Communication relay stations using fire signals and reflected light. Coordinated supply caches. It's like they have created a medieval military network, but with modern strategic thinking. Surely you're not suggesting this poses a threat to our operations. I'm suggesting it poses a threat to our assumptions, war leader. We planned this assault based on fighting a technologically advanced but disorganized resistance. Instead, we are facing a technologically primitive but highly organized defense. I considered this. In my experience, organized primitives could be far more dangerous than disorganized advanced civilizations. But humans? Surely they wouldn't be foolish enough to resist a superior force. Proceed with the assault as planned. I ordered, but maintain tactical flexibility. These humans may surprise us. The Hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace at exactly 0600 Earth Standard Time. 47 ships, positioned in perfect assault formation, ready to claim what they assumed would be an easy conquest. They were about to learn something important about underestimating humans. Keth, the humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. Drix, 7 reported. It's unusual. I activated the communication array. Dr. Patterson's voice filled our bridge, but he wasn't speaking to us. He was speaking to the Hegemony fleet. Attention Hegemony vessels. This is Dr. Henry Patterson, speaking for the United Earth Defense Council. You are entering sovereign human space without authorization. You have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. There was a pause, then laughter from the Hegemony flagship. War leader Grex Thane's voice came through clearly. Primitive humans, you have no defense systems. You have no spacecraft. You have no technology. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift. Dr. Patterson's response was calm, almost conversational. War leader Grex Thane, you are absolutely right. We don't have defense systems, spacecraft, or technology. But we do have something you have apparently forgotten about. And what is that? We have humans. That's when the real show began. Across Earth's surface, thousands of concealed positions revealed themselves simultaneously. Not energy weapons or missile batteries, but something far more primitive and infinitely more dangerous. Humans with weapons that didn't depend on electronics. Humans with tactics that didn't require computer coordination. Humans with a determination that no advanced civilization could quantify or counter. The first Hegemony landing craft touched down in what had been downtown Los Angeles. The assault troops emerged expecting to face panicked civilians. Instead, they found Sergeant Morrison and 300 volunteers armed with everything from hunting rifles to improvised explosives, all coordinated through a communication network that couldn't be jammed, hacked, or disrupted. Because it was operated by humans running between positions, shouting orders, and adapting to circumstances in real time. Keth, whispered Drix 7, they're not just fighting back. They are winning. I watched in amazement as human defenders used terrain knowledge, superior mobility, and sheer stubborn determination to outmaneuver technologically superior forces. They weren't trying to win a conventional battle. They were fighting a war of attrition, using the one resource they had in abundance, time and patience, and an absolutely terrifying refusal to give up. Day 3 of the battle for Earth, and I'm writing this from the captured Hegemony command post in downtown Chicago. Yeah, that's right. We took their command post. With bolt-action rifles and improvised explosives. Turns out, when you've spent your entire military career fighting enemies with advanced technology, you develop some interesting tactical approaches. The Hegemony troops were trained to counter energy weapons, guided missiles, and electronic warfare. They had no idea how to deal with humans who coordinated attacks using signal mirrors, fought from positions that couldn't be detected electronically, and used weapons that didn't generate any kind of electronic signature. The turning point came when Dr. Pierce's medical teams figured out Hegemony biology well enough to develop biological warfare countermeasures. Not weapons, mind you, medical treatments. They started treating captured Hegemony soldiers, saving lives that the Hegemony commanders had written off as acceptable losses. Nothing demoralizes an army quite like discovering that the enemy is more concerned with preserving life than your own leadership. War leader Grex Thane requested a meeting under white flag yesterday. I was chosen to represent Earth's defense forces. The conversation was brief. Your resistance is admirable but futile, he said. We have reinforcements coming. So do we, I replied. Impossible. Your planet has no allies, no fleet, no advanced technology. I smiled. War leader, you have made a fundamental error in your strategic assessment, which is, you assumed that losing our technology made us weaker. Actually, it made us human again. The official report I filed with the Galactic Council was necessarily brief. Hegemony invasion of Earth repelled. Human civilization intact. No intervention required. The reality was far more complex and infinitely more impressive. The humans hadn't just survived the loss of their technology. They'd used it as an opportunity to remember something important about themselves. They were a species that had conquered their own planet using nothing but intelligence, determination, and an absolutely unshakable belief that impossible problems could be solved with enough creativity and stubbornness. The EMP event that should have destroyed them had instead reminded them of their greatest strength. They were human. Today, I received a message from Dr. Patterson. They have begun reconstruction, but not the kind anyone expected. Instead of trying to rebuild their electronic civilization, they are building something new. Something that combines the best of their technological knowledge with the resilience and adaptability they'd rediscovered. Officer Kethmorian, the message read, "We wanted to thank you for your assistance during our darkest hour. Earth extend an invitation for formal diplomatic contact whenever you are ready. We're not the same species we were 2 months ago. We are better." I looked out at the blue and green planet below us, where 7 billion humans were busy proving that sometimes the best way forward is to remember where you came from. And I realized something that would influence my reports for years to come. The galaxy had just witnessed something unprecedented. Not the fall of a civilization, but its rebirth. Humanity hadn't just survived their technological apocalypse, that they'd used it to become more human than ever before. That, I decided, was information the Galactic Council definitely needed to hear.